What's up, everybody? It's Mike here from The Art of Guitar. I like to challenge my students in a lot of different ways, and one way that I like to do it is to have a challenge artist of the week. And what I wanted people to do for this week is to ask themselves the question, is Taylor Swift a better guitar player than you? And it seems kind of like an absurd question until you really break it down and you see that, a lot of people would automatically say, of course I'm better than her, because you don't really think of her as a great guitar player. But if I were to challenge somebody and say, okay, well, play one of her songs all the way through without any mistakes. And if you could do that, then yes, I'll say that you're better than her. But until then, you might want to hold off a little bit. So what I did was I really looked into her playing, and I watched a whole bunch of videos of her live, and I came up with a handful of attributes that she has as a guitarist that a lot of people don't really notice. And now that my students are taking this challenge and seeing if they could play a Taylor Swift song all the way through, they're noticing a lot of holes in their game. And that comes with anybody. Even if you've been playing chords for many years, sometimes you don't really have it down to where you could play under pressure, or you can't really arpeggiate chords the cleanest. There's all these little holes that people have. And so taking a thought experiment like this and asking yourself a question like, is Taylor Swift a better guitarist than me? It really does open up some new chambers in your mind, and sometimes makes you aware of some shortcomings you might have. So one attribute she has right off the bat that really helps her as a musician all around is this inner sense of rhythm. If you watch her play, you can see her move her body and bob her head and tap her foot. And it really all comes together. You could really see that she has a strong sense of rhythm. And I know some guitarists that have been playing a long time that don't even have that. They'll play what's needed, but they really don't have that overwhelming sense of where the rhythm is at all times. So she kind of has like this inner drummer that is constantly going, and you could just tell by the way she moves when she plays the guitar. So that's a huge advantage to have that. And because she has that inner drummer, it controls her strumming hand. And if you watch her strumming hand, it does what I like to preach, which is it keeps moving. So sometimes people strum and it can be herky-jerky, like... I'm exaggerating, but you get the idea. Hers is always moving. So if you do that thing that I made a video for where you take an egg shaker and you put it in your hand as you strum, you could really see where your rhythm's at. If you can keep that thing going when you're doing stuff like... So you see how my hand kept moving? She's really good at doing that. It's a rare occasion where her arm actually stops while she's strumming. Check out her videos and you'll see what I'm talking about. A lot of guitarists practice sitting down, and so when they go to stand up, they like to put their strap so that it's the same height when they stand up. Well, I saw her do Wildest Dreams at the Grammys. It was just her and a Fender Jaguar guitar. It was really cool looking, that guitar. And she surprisingly held it really low when she played. And so I thought, that's kind of cool that she can do that. A lot of people, like I said, have to hold it up high to be comfortable. And I thought, is this going to affect her chords or her playing? And she actually played really well holding her guitar extremely low. So whenever somebody can play well with their guitar held low, I always seem to think of that as an advantage or a plus. Kind of like if you look at James Hetfield play, his guitar is almost down to his knees, and somehow he can still pull all that stuff off. So I think that's one thing that is a cool attribute to have as a guitarist. One of her main strong points is that she's able to sing over the top of her guitar playing. So yeah, if you could strum some chords and get through the song, that's one thing, but then try to add singing, the singing element to it. And you can see that really shoots somebody up many levels as far as in my mind for their abilities. So if you're able to sing and keep it together on the guitar, that's huge. Okay, when you're a singer-songwriter and you have a certain comfort zone in your voice and you know which pitches you like to hit, kind of like your wheelhouse, it's a big advantage to be able to know how to capo your guitar in order to optimize your vocal range. And she's kind of a master at the capo. She's very capo literate. So if you ever look up her songs to play, because a lot of my students want to learn her songs, it's usually capoed somewhere. So that's one of those things where when you're capo literate, it's a good thing. And one of the songs she played in this Tiny Desk concert she did, which is where I got the most respect for her because it was just her and her guitar, nobody else. She really had to hold everything down herself. She threw the capo on, and she started doing this cool picking pattern. And up until today, I really just thought of her as a strummer. But she was doing these really cool patterns with her pick, and then she was doing these descending bass walks, which I thought was above the level that I thought she was at. Sounded something like this. was like, I never heard her do that before. So she does have the ability to arpeggiate chords and do some things that took me by surprise. I thought it was kind of cool. If you've ever tried to arpeggiate chords in front of an audience or in the studio, you'll find that it's easy to kind of get blurred vision when you're looking down at the strings because you're trying to hit individual strings, and it shows a certain level of mastery when you're able to cleanly arpeggiate chords. So that's something I noticed she did really well. And in this concert performance she did, the Tiny Desk one, it's an intimate little setting, and I know I get a little nervous whenever I'm in a setting like that, and she played it so well. She could have recorded it and that could have ended up on her album. So that was really cool to see her pull that off. One time I was asked to wear cowboy boots at a concert because it was this Americana country band that I was in. And I didn't want to, you know, I'm so used to wearing my old comfortable shoes. And I put on these cowboy boots and I'm like, man, I could barely walk in these things. And I had to stand for 3 hours and play. And I was making weird mistakes because I was uncomfortable and I felt off balance the whole time. Hitting my pedals was weird. You know, I had to stand on one foot for a second, almost fell over. And it really did affect my guitar playing. So I thought about what she does. She's going through these wardrobe changes. She's running around this huge stage. She's wearing these heels most of the time. And I thought, man, that puts her up there in my mind because I know I could never pull that off, what she's doing. And so that might be an attribute, might not be, but in my mind I really respect the fact that she can wear all this uncomfortable stuff and still play what she plays. In that Tiny Desk concert, she was doing a strum pattern with some really good dynamics. So she was doing sort of a muted strum at first, like a there's times where she was doing hits. I thought, you know, a lot of guitarists I know when they are playing chords, they kind of are a one-trick pony. They sort of keep it just going like, which is fine. But to see her use muting dynamics and being able to really change the song with how she was playing with her rhythm hand, I thought that was pretty admirable. And so that took me by surprise too, because early on when she was starting off, she was really, you know, kind of just a strummer, all-out strummer. And now to hear her going into these mutes, doing these kind of John Mayer-like rhythms, I thought that was a step above where I thought she was. So her dynamics have gotten way better over the years, and she is also able to use those dynamics to be as big or as small as she needs to be in whatever situation. So of course when she's live and she's playing with a bunch of other people on stage, she knows her part. She kind of keeps it at that level. But when she was all alone in this concert series, she was playing big and taking up a lot of space, which has a lot to do with the dynamics of how she was playing. And the last thing that I'll bring up today is I kind of alluded to it a little bit, but her ability to play under pressure is incredible. Of course, she's had a lot of practice, and her ability to play under pressure so well really puts her up there in my book. So it's one of those things where unless you're a performing musician or somebody who's played in the studio, it's kind of hard to understand what goes on in your mind when all of a sudden you're in front of a bunch of people. Sometimes it's like your hands just go numb. You forget everything you thought you knew. You become maybe 70% of the player you thought you were when it comes to those situations. So to see her really excel under pressure is a huge thing to have, and what makes her great. So if you ever find yourself underestimating or making fun of Taylor Swift for her guitar playing, maybe think of this video and ask yourself if you could do what she does under the kind of circumstances that she does them in. Kind of a fun thought experiment if you guys want to try that. All right, let me know in the comments what you guys think, and we'll catch you later. Okay, see ya.